Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Tonya from Nurses Speak. Welcome back to my channel for nurses, where we talk about anything and nothing is off limits. So, like, subscribe, and share. Put your comments in and let me know what you would like to speak about. So, I'm taking a walk today around the local lake, I believe it is. And it's pretty cold out here today. I'm in New Jersey today. And the lake is frozen over, actually. It's 15 degrees approximately. So I'm layered up. I'm feeling warm, except for my hands, of course, because I'm holding this selfie stick recording this video. But I wanted to, since I haven't done a outdoor video in a while, I decided to bring my phone out with me and just chat with you for a little bit. So I was talking to a good friend of mine recently, who was dealing with some health issues. And as we talked, in the conversation came out some issues pertaining to work. And of course, this friend is a nurse as well, been a nurse for many decades like myself. And from what was being said, it was pretty much clear that the toxic work environment was a big part of the issue. And although she's at a high level position, it's taking its toll because there's not a lot of support in the environment. In fact, there's oftentimes a lot of opposition and, things done behind her back where she's finding out at the last minute wherein she should be involved in the decision-making process. And that's just based on the fact that because her role has a significant responsibility in the organization for the nursing services, it's almost like, well, how can you do these things without consulting me? And we're talking about the owner of the organization. Now, when you get hired for a position, you're being hired for your knowledge, your experience, and your expertise. Typically, you're brought on after several interviews and given a pretty decent salary. But at the same time, if all of that doesn't reflect in the decision-making authority or the administrative support when it's necessary for decisions to be made with regard to services, operations, budgeting, programming, even HR issues, then a person in that level of position could run into some problems, okay? And those problems can definitely affect patient care. They can affect compliance areas. And so, again, for the person who's responsible for that, it can create a lot of stress. And as we know, if stress doesn't have an outlet or a valve for decreasing the level of stress, it begins to implode within the body. And it definitely has an effect on the mind as well. So hence we're seeing higher levels of burnout. And it's not necessarily, the burnout is not the same for everybody in nursing, because for some it's very physical. For some, it's more mental, psychological. It can even be emotional. But yet and still, because the body is holistic, and we're looking at this from a holistic perspective, any aspect of your being can be affected by being in a toxic work environment. Particularly one in which you're not able to bring about a significant change or improvement to the conditions. And this is where many nurses are at right now. They're in positions of authority and leadership, but they cannot effectively bring about change. So their heart's desires for this highly achieved position, pardon, there's some sirens going on. As I was saying, they're not able to fulfill their heart's desire to bring about change for the better. And that could be very disappointing, to the point where if it's internalized, one might begin to feel like a failure. To feel like, wow, I've done all this, I've gotten the education, I have the experience, I have the credentials, but I can't seem to make anything happen here. I've done my best. I come in early, I stay late, I work weekends, I'm on call, I'm answering the phone on holidays, I'm sacrificing time with my family and friends. I've delayed doctor's appointments and neglected to take care of myself, but yet and still, it's not good enough. It's not producing the outcomes that are necessary. And so many of us internalize this. And this is where the problem lies, in the internalization of things that are beyond our control. When in fact the only thing we can control is our response to these things. And again, I've always said, I'll never be out here trying to tell people what to do, whether to stay or to leave nursing, whether to stay or to leave a particular job or position. But I will tell you to consider the impact that it's having on you. And if that impact doesn't feel right, if it feels negative, if it feels constricting, if it feels stressful, if it's producing in your mind and in your body symptoms that you know are not normal, then there may be some action you need to take. Okay? And that requires many times consideration and planning. And depending on the significance of the situation and how extreme it is, sometimes there's a necessity for immediate action if you're literally in a life-threatening situation. So, and again, any job is like a relationship, right? It has an expiration date. There comes a time when it's just time to move on. After you've done everything you can do, sometimes you just need to move on. And it's okay. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you're less than. It just means that it's time to move on to something better. And that's basically all I wanted to share with you today. To give you permission, in case you haven't been able to give it to yourself, that it's okay to move on. It's okay to set yourself free. It's okay to be and do and have what you desire. And it doesn't mean that you have to take from anyone else. It doesn't mean that you're disloyal. And it doesn't mean that you're a failure. What it does mean is that you have come to an awareness that your destiny is within your power. And because somebody tells you that what you have to say or what you've done doesn't have value for them, doesn't mean that there's no value in you. And always remember that, because we all have value. All of our lives matter. We're all worth it. And we're worth making the choice to let things go and move on. To be free and to be well. In our mind and in our body and in our soul. That is your highest good. So, I am going to end this video now because my hands are pretty much frozen. And I will check in with you again at the next one. So, until then, let me remind you, like, share, and subscribe. And turn on your notifications so you'll know the next time I'm coming at you. This is Tonya from Nurses Speak. Be well. Bye now.